Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good day to everyone. So today we're going to look into the first topic in innovation management, CD 1307, Introduction to Innovation. So first thing first, before we manage the innovation, we would like to know what is actually innovation. Okay, what does it mean by innovation? What are the types of innovation? And also what makes a difference between innovation and invention, as well as why do we need innovation management. So I'll be sharing with you on the process. So for example, like the definition of innovation itself. So what is innovation? Innovation is the process of creating something new or improving an existing product, service, or process to deliver greater value to customers. What does it mean here is, in order for us, it doesn't have to be something totally new. It doesn't have to be like something totally groundbreaking for us to do innovation. Innovation is improvising. We want to improve the process. Okay, so if let's say we are having an old process, and then we want to make sure that a new process, is become efficient and faster and better, so that can be considered as innovation. And in that sense as well, it does not only entails to product, but is also about service, about the process. So we can innovate the process, we can innovate the service. So these are something that we can do in innovation. The most important part, it is deliver a greater value to our customers. There are several types of innovation, which is based on this book, Clayton Christensen, by Innovators Dilemma 1997. There are four types of innovation, which is incremental. It means that we are doing it bit by bit, small improvement. It's a bit less risky, less costly, but steady enhancements. But if let's say you want to consider it transformative, it is not transformative enough, because it's just being done bit by bit, little by little. Okay, that is incremental innovation. The second one is disruptive innovation. So disruptive is like totally a game changing. For example, like if you want to say um, Grab, for example. Okay, um, maybe Uber is what we call as something new, totally new, and then Grab coming in and introduce different kind of services. Before this, we just have taxi, and suddenly there is a game changing kind of game where you can just simply book any car in order for you to go anywhere else. So that is what we call as disruptive innovation. It challenged the status quo. So you can see that from the taxi driver in the first place, they are very angry with it. Okay, and it actually penetrates new markets. So that is what we call as disruptive. Another example of disruptive innovation could be considered as, for example, like if you've been using ChatGPT, so that is also what we call as completely disruptive innovation. Okay, because it changed the way how people do things, it changed the way how people are dealing with things. So that's what we call as disruptive innovation. The third one is what we call as architectural innovation. This is always on the system. For example, like you want to redesign the structures, you want to design the system, you want to re-engineer the organization, for example, the way how we do things, and related to the process. So it has a certain kind of ways that we change, so that makes it as architectural innovation. And finally, when we talk about radical innovation, so radical innovation is completely new, is high risk reward, and it is very transformative. It means that you are making a total drastic solution. For example, like when I give example about Grab or Uber, for example, that can be considered as disruptive innovation. But imagine, for example, like right now, when we have a car, which is electric car. Okay, a totally new car which doesn't need a petrol engine, for example. So that makes it as a completely radical kind of innovation. Okay, or maybe instead of using car, maybe you're using flying drones. After this, you just take up a drone and fly to your workplace. That could also be considered as radical innovation. Okay, so that it makes the difference between disruptive as well as radical. And I hope that you can also make the differences, okay, can identify the differences between what is incremental, disruptive architecture, and radical innovation. I put these notes for every one of you to see that what are the differences between each of these based on, for example, you're looking at definition, risk level, cost, market impact, technology involvement, target audience, as well as long-term impact. So, for example, we're looking at incremental innovation. As I mentioned earlier, this is just small enhancements. So it's the in terms of the risk, it's less risky and lower cost compared to radical innovation. It improve over time. You're gonna get steady improve over time. The cost is a bit low and it builds upon existing technologies. So, for example, like at your workplace, before this, we are just using um, for example, like if let's say we are looking at how to improve the mental health at the workplace, right? So one of less risky innovation that we can use or incremental innovation is we start to think about what are the small things that we can put in at our workplace so that it makes a better place, such as putting a dashboard, for example, like what is your emotion today, right? So people come to the office and click, okay, my emotion is happy, I'm anxious a bit, and so on. So that could be considered as incremental innovation. The target audience is existing customers and markets, and long-term impact is consistent improvement and adaptability to changing needs. Okay, that is incremental innovation. When we talk about disruptive innovation, so bear in mind, come into your mind, which is about Netflix, about Grab, about Airbnb, for example. So this is something what we call as disruptive innovation because it disrupt. For example, like Airbnb. Before this, people are just going for vacation and stay at the hotel. Now they can just book and stay at anyone's house. And Airbnb doesn't have any house. It's just that they have a host who gonna have the house and they have guests to come in and book the house. So that makes it as destructive. So it might affect some of the existing players, for example, like maybe the hotel players are affected. Okay. Similar goes to Netflix, for example, like people maybe tend not to go to watch cinema anymore, and then because they can have it on Netflix, for example. So that is what we call as disruptive innovation. It possess higher risk, okay, because there are certain kind of innovation that might not go through, and then the cost may vary. Some require initial investment, some may not, for example. It creates new markets or disrupt existing ones, okay, and it introduce new technologies or enhance existing ones that could be considered in technology involvement. We can actually tackle new customer, for example, like consider Grab. Somebody before this, they're a bit hesitate to take taxi, for example, but now because of the Grab, they can just easily simple book Grab and they just go with Grab. Okay, so that is somehow new customer segments that they can focus for. In the long term, it's going to give a lot of transformative effects for industries as well as the markets. And the third one on architectural innovation. So we see that it is about redesigning structures, systems, and core component to improve efficiency and performance. This is always happening at the workplace. So, for example, like we innovate the system. We used to have a system like when we come to the office, there is a punch machine, for example. Now it is being replaced by just thumbprint. So that is what we consider as architectural innovation, for which that the system is being changing and into a different kind of innovation. It has a moderate risk with potential benefits in efficiency and moderate cost due to configuration or redesign. It improves efficiency, flexibility, and resource utilization. You may involve on adopting it for new technologies or approaches, and it improve the internal processes and efficiency. So when we look at improving ourselves, which may not be directly related to the customer, you may want to consider an architectural innovation, and it gives long-term benefits through reconfiguration and optimization. Um, and finally, is what we call as radical innovation. So radical innovation is completely new, it's transformative, and it is unheard of. For example, high risk, potentially destructive and transformative, which is similar to disruptive, but is much bigger, it's much radical. Okay, but in a way that it involves higher costs compared to disruptive innovation. Because disruptive innovator usually they want to reduce the cost, so they may want to have make more profit but at a lower cost. But a radical innovator, they will need somehow high cost new to the new development and technology adoption. It creates new markets again. It requires development of new technologies and approaches. It's potentially to appeal to entirely new customer segments. So we just create for a new customers. The existing one may be a bit hesitate because it's totally radical. That makes it different, and it transforms industries and markets, reshaping business landscapes. So this is radical innovation, which is a totally game changing. As I mentioned earlier, for example, like we don't have electric car before, and suddenly electric car, electric vehicle make its appearance. So that's considered as a radical innovation, or much more radical in a way that we may now after this having just a helicopter, that a drone helicopter to pick us up from our place to our workplace, for example. So that could be a radical innovation that could potentially happen to us in the near future. What makes the difference between innovation and invention? Okay, this is also very interesting for us to see what is the difference. Innovation is actually creating something new or improving an existing idea. Okay, for example, like the idea is already there, somebody have done it before, maybe not that successful, we just improve it and we innovate from that. So that is what we consider as innovation. But if let's say we want to look for invention, is discovering something for the first time. So for example, like before this nobody create aeroplane, right? So the whose brothers I can't remember. There are two brothers who actually create aeroplane, for example. So that is the first starting of invention. Okay, so somebody, Alexander Graham Bell, for example, invent the telephone, but after that people innovate from it, and until now we get our own smartphone, for example. So that makes the difference between invention and innovation. Now, let's look at what would be the characteristic of innovative companies. So, if let's say we are going to have a company who actually want to be considered as innovative companies, or maybe we can audit our own company whether are we innovative enough. Okay. So the first thing what we have to do is actually we need to look whether the company itself encourage creativity and idea generation. So for example, like it's not only from one people who actually encourage that creativity from the boss, but the boss encourage others, for example, to come up with a better creativity or idea. So that company could be considered as innovative companies. Or the company itself is embracing risk taking and experimentation. They want to experiment different kind of things, collect data, for example, and to see and analyze what will be the response from the customers. So this is what we can call towards innovative companies. And the third one is to foster a culture of continuous learning and improvement. For example, like the boss and the whole company is encouraging you to keep learning, to keep empowering yourself, for example. So that is actually the characteristic of innovative companies. So why do we need innovation management? Innovation, as we know, is a process of creating new product, service, process, or idea that add value to the world, but somehow we need to manage it. So it is the reason why we need to manage it, so that it doesn't just, the idea that we generate, the innovation that we do, it doesn't just go like that. It didn't just go to the drain. Okay, so we need to manage it properly so that it's still happening inside the organization. So innovation management is important so that we can continue to foster creativity and driving growth in organization. If we don't manage the innovation in a way, that the innovation will fall and the culture of innovation will no longer be there. So that's why it is very important for us to create innovation. Why do we need innovation management in the first place? So the next question that I would like you to think before we end this series is, how can we ensure our innovation is being managed well? So that is something for you to think, and I would like you to respond in the discussion session. Okay, how can we best ensure our innovation is being managed well? All right, so that's the thing that's all for this particular lecture. Thank you. Bye.